Welcome back to the People's Cabinet. Okay, I've been giving some thought and taking in the reaction to the tragic murder of Charlie Kirk. And I just wanted to say a few things that I think are important. I think what a lot of people are feeling and maybe are afraid to say. First and foremost, we should all agree that his murder was heinous, that there's no place in America for political violence, that his family, our hearts go out to the family. The people who are laughing or mocking his killing, that should be condemned, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. What I am, and I think a lot of people are having trouble with in the reaction, is the statements that are coming from and I'll speak for my political views, that are coming from the right, that are absolutist of this is only a problem on the left and we need to do something about it. They are right that we need to do something about political violence. Political violence spans the left spectrum and the right spectrum. There are so many examples on either side. I don't want to get into every single detail, but first of all, on the left, you can cite the softball game shooting of Steve Scalise. You can talk about the firebombing of a North Carolina GOP office that were motivated by somebody who seemed to adopt some of the ideology on the left. But you can also do the same thing. And we could do this all day, right? You do the same thing on the right. You could talk about what happened on January 6th and the Capitol attack. Clearly a right ideology group of people who wanted to stop the outcome of the election. You can talk about the El Paso Walmart massacre where the shooter had invasion rhetoric. And I'm going to stop with two simple examples with ideologies that are embodying two different sides of the aisle. I'm not going to do more than that. I'm not going to, opine more on this. It is just an example of when either side says this is just a left problem or a right problem, it is just simply not accurate. If we are going to address the political division in this country, I think it is so important that we do our best to debate and have conversations on facts. And the fact is that political violence traverses the entire political spectrum. And yes, you can cite different studies and examples that show and argue your case one way or another. But I think most people agree, and I certainly do, that you can find many examples on all sides of the aisle and that all of them are heinous and have no place in our debate. And it's really, really important that we agree on that and that we have some civility there, because if we're not, and we are convinced that it's only on the left that political violence happens, or it's only on the right that political violence happens, we will never come to any consensus or any way to move forward. And it is so disheartening to see that reaction out there. It is so disheartening for people who are showing zero empathy for the family of Charlie Kirk. It is so disheartening to see the language coming out of the administration right now that is blaming one side, that says, oh, this kind of gaslighting. That is incredibly infuriating to people who know better and who know that this is a problem in our society, that there's so many reasons why people are committing political violence, but all of them should be condemned. We should be having robust political debates. I have talked on the show in the past about how Tommy Loren invited me to Nashville to debate her, and I appreciated the fact that we could sit across from each other for an hour and have a debate, a substantive policy debate. It didn't get personal. I try very hard not to get personal in my arguments, to keep my arguments based on fact. And I think we need to continue to strive to do that. But if we don't have a baseline of political agreement that violence is bad, no matter who it happens to, then I think it's so tough for either side to take the other side seriously. And so let's take a step back, okay? Let's try to agree on a couple of things that I think we all should universally agree upon. That Charlie Kirk's murder was horrific, that it shouldn't happen, and that nobody who is exercising the right to free speech should be worried about a threat of violence. That it's disgusting that people would mock his killing and that our hearts go out to his family. That political violence, unfortunately, traverses the political spectrum. It's just the reality that is just objectively true. That disagreement should stick to policy and not personal attacks. That just because we disagree with someone doesn't make them our mortal enemy. There are a lot of people that I have debated on CNN, on other outlets, that I disagree with highly, but I don't see them as my mortal enemy, and I don't think that that is a healthy way to view a democracy and to view debate. And finally, I think that we could all benefit from taking a beat before tweeting and making an attempt to understand the other side a little bit better. That does not mean we have to agree with the other side. That doesn't mean you'd have to never tweet. That doesn't mean that you can't call out the administration when you disagree with them, because I certainly do and will continue to do. But I think it's important that people understand intention. I think we've lost intention in this country. And I think we need to go in with the intention of thoughtful, productive dialogue, because without that, without an environment where dialogue can get us anywhere, unfortunately, that sets the ground for this kind of violence that we're seeing, and we can't have that. We're in a very precarious time in our country, and it's important that we agree that no matter who you are and no matter what your ideology is, that political violence is unacceptable. So I will do my best to keep all of the arguments not personal, about policy, about the ways that I believe this administration is not moving forward, that is good for our country. But I think everyone needs to just take a beat and need to acknowledge that this is a society problem, not a left or right problem, and that by making it partisan, it's hurting all of us. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the People's Cabinet. If you did, please like, subscribe, ring that bell, and tell us who else you would like to see sworn in. And let us know in the comments what other topics you'd like us to cover. Let's go.